Hello and welcome. My name is Helen and I'm from Helen Winter Textile Art. And today I want to show you how I make feathers for my bird art. And it's a technique that I used on this kingfisher. And it's a technique that I will be showing you in my book that I'm currently writing on animal and bird art, and it's also something that a lot of my lovely folk that follow along my art have actually asked if I would create or show them how to do it. It will be included in the book, but obviously video and showing it live is often a better way of doing it, or it accompanies the book anyway. So these are some of the feathers that will be going onto this lovely kingfisher that I'm in the middle of making. So let's get underway. Now I have tried over the years several different methods of creating flat felt for things like leaves and feathers, and this way works best for me, and it's just been a question of trial and error and just seeing how it works for the artworks that I'm going to be creating. So to start off with, I get out some just normal kitchen greaseproof paper, and I just use whatever colour, whether this is going to be leaves or feathers. So you basically get the base colour that you are going to be using. And this is wool roving rather than carded wool. So it's actually processed, so it's a long strand of wool that's been gone through the processing, the carders, to make it this way. In fact, what I'm going to do, because this keeps on curling up, I'm just going to pin it down. Normally this wool is used for spinning, but you can use it in needle felting. I use wool roving a lot for if I'm doing pet portraits or long fur on animals, and I will be using this in the book for the fur on the animals that I'll be showing you how to create in the book. Now, because I'm talking too much, I've realised that this is actually too thick. So I start off with a very, very thin layer of this wool roving, and I want to make sure that it's spread out thinly as evenly as possible. I'm just using you can use a pair of scissors just to spread all of these ends out. And then I'm using, this is fabric, this is Wonderweb fusing tape that you'd use to iron up two bits of fabric together. So what I'm just going to do is place this, actually one end, just cover the whole of this, the roving with the tape. You can use the scissors, but I'm just using it by eye, and I do butt each bit of tape up against the next piece so that you haven't got any gaps. And the last piece, and it doesn't really matter, the fact is that last piece was too long, doesn't really matter. And then just do exactly the same over the bonding tape, and I get my bonding tape or fabric bonding tape from Amazon. I'm sure you can get it from most haberdasheries if you prefer to buy local. Here on the Isle of Man we've got very few. We've got 2 haberdasheries, but I'm not sure whether they do. They probably do this tape. Right, I'm then going to do another layer over the top. And then, so it's really like a sandwich, a triple decker sandwich of, I mean, you can also, you can use any variations of colours. You can mix the colours, you can blend the colours. The world's your oyster, really. And I use this method for leaves as well, and I have shown my followers how to do the leaves as well. It's very, very similar, but just adding a metal stalk in the middle to secure it, but I can do that another time. It's Facebook have taken it upon themselves to actually delete lives after a month, because it was in my Facebook group, but they deleted it after a month. So the best way of doing it is, as I'm doing with this, is to create a video so it's there for eternity. So as you see, I'm just putting thin layer, and what I've done there is I've just snapped those fibres into shorter lengths just to fill these gaps, and that'll be enough. And then I'm just going to fold this greaseproof paper over the top, and then you can either use an iron like I'm going to be using here, or you can use hair straighteners, which I've used in the past, and it's on quite hot, and then you just run it over the greaseproof paper several times, and I just I do it both front or both sides, just to double check that I've got everything. I've got both sides. And if you want to include like extras like Angelina, which is like a glittery type plastic fibre, then you can, to encase it in. And then peel this back, and it's made this nice thin layer of that you can then use. Now, what I have found over time is that looks like it's flat, but you can see that there's just a very fine loose bit of fibre on there. Now, that's perfect thickness, but what I've actually found that helps, and this is a piece that I've already done, and I will use this piece from now on, but I will, what I'm just about to tell you, I will use on this piece, is I use this polyurethane matte varnish, but you can get fabric hardeners as well that will do just the job. And what I've done is, I don't know whether you can see, just this section here, I've actually just put a thin one layer of this varnish, and it wants to be clear and matte. As you can see, it's got no shine on it. I've covered both sides just because when I cut the shapes, the leaf shape, sorry, the feather shapes, the fibres, if I wasn't to do it on here, start lifting up, and it just gives it, that just secures everything down very neatly. So that's why I've done this one already, because it takes a couple of hours for it to dry. So all I then do is cut strips. I'll just do one for the time being. And then, depending on what shape your feather end is, so this is going to be one feather, and you can cut this into, you can make this could either be 2 feathers or 3, depending on the length of the feathers that you're going to be using. I've just cut it on half just to make it easier to work with. And the feather shape, this is just like slightly rounded then, and then this has more of an angle down here, and I'm just going to curve that like that. And then, so that's, you can either leave it like that, but what I like to do is to add some shading. You can see there that when I pop these together, which they will do on, like I did, I'll show you on my actual artwork. So you can see here that I've actually got this shading. And in fact, since this, I've perfected the technique even more, so that you can actually see that it's blended a lot better. So these will be stacked up like this, so that you can actually just get a little bit of light reflection on your feathers. And what I use for those, this is the piece I'm working on, so I'll pop those over here. Just going to pin them to my mat so they don't go walkabouts, because they're so tiny. What I use for this is, these are brilliant. These are acrylic brush. So basically they're like paint, acrylic paint, but in like a pen form. And I've got, they come in loads of different colours. So I've got one that was a 72 pen pack. And then what I then do, depending on, I think I used this colour to start with. So it's got a lovely tip on it. And then depending on how much shading or sort of the lighter sections, you just paint it on. And then I'm using a cotton bud. It dries quite quick, but you can see that just by using that cotton bud, you're getting it quite lovely, a lovely blended. The paint's blended across the feather. And then if you want this little highlight, a little lighter tone, and then just grab very small amount right on the tip. And the lovely thing about these pens is that the tip is really quite pointed, and you can get quite a thin line just going on the edge, which is just a little reflection that you'll get on the feather. And that would probably go underneath there. Oops. Like that. So I would obviously leave those to dry, and then these ones would come down here, and obviously I will cut these down and then felt them on when it gets to that point. But let me just show you on the artwork. So yeah, to attach them, I've left the ends fluffy, but because I will be cutting these down to length. I actually will, sorry, I'm just concentrating. So I'm talking and trying to concentrate at the same time. But anyway, just like that, just so you get the idea. So what I do is I actually get some carded wool, and I will actually pop the carded wool over over the top of this felt on a bit that's going to be not seen, and I will actually felt through the carded wool through the wing into the background felt, and that secures it really well. If you were to, you could make a lot your flat piece a lot narrower and leave these tufty bits of wool at the end that are unfelt, that are unsquashed, that are still fluffy, and you could use that to attach higher up your body, and that's just another anchor that you could use on it. So that's a very quick little tutorial on how I do my feathers. I hope that you found it useful. As I say, that this will be described in great detail in my book. So keep an eye out. Follow me on Instagram or Facebook, Helen Winter Textile Art, or you could even subscribe to my newsletter, and I will be putting in there they will be the first places that I'll let everybody know when the book's released. I'm hoping in the next few months that I'll get it out to you, and I know it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to get it out to you because it's yeah, I've enjoyed making each of the projects, and it's just something that's yeah, I'm really looking forward to you getting your hands on and having a go. All right then, enjoy. If you've got any questions, then send me a message and I'll happily answer them. Okay. Enjoy and catch you soon. Bye.